Good morning, everybody. Gosh, lots of wonderful, fresh new faces and a lot of old friends we haven't seen in like 3 months. Are we good? Can I get started? All right. Gosh, you guys, I feel like a school teacher because everyone's like looking at me expectantly like the first day of school. This is so exciting. So just a reminder and welcome everyone on Zoom. We have a nice turnout. Looks like about even numbers between the Zoom and room, so that's nice. Just a reminder, if you are on Zoom and you're not speaking, could you please mute your mic? So if everyone could mute their mics now, because we're recording and even a little sound on Zoom will automatically pull focus to you and you'll be on the recording doing whatever you're doing that's making that sound. So we don't really want that if we can help it. So I have a really, really exciting announcement to make right out the gate. We are doing, as a guild, an anthology of short works in 2024. So I have some guidelines here on the table, and we'll be happy to email out guidelines to anyone who's interested. The theme of the anthology is going to be animals, whether that's wild or domestic, beloved pets or rascally pests, even mythical creatures. The animal must be integral to the story or the poem, not merely a cute, cuddly cameo. Although they need not be the central character, they should inform or be essential to the plot or impact the main character in a meaningful way. So that's what the committee, we have a wonderful anthology committee that we put together, and that's what they have come up with as the theme. Word count and format, 1,800 words or less, double space, 12-point Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, the usual format for submitting. The one difference is do not put your name on your manuscript because the readers are not going to know whose work they're reading when they're deciding who's been accepted into the anthology. So do not put your name on the actual manuscript. It goes in the subject line of your email. Content, previously unpublished prose and poetry. The only exception is if you've either had it appear only in either a poem or a short story in one issue or issues of Straight Jackets magazine. So if you have been previously published in Straight Jackets and you want to pull a story from a previous publication, that's perfectly acceptable, but there are no excerpts from longer works. And original work, obviously, is welcome. Eligibility, Diamond Valley Writers Guild paid members in good standing may submit up to 2 prose pieces and 2 poetry pieces. So if you're really prolific, you can submit 4, 2 prose, 2 poetry. Eligibility terms, first publication rights only, not exclusive, the first 180 days after publication. So the first 180 days, we don't want you publishing it someplace else. But after that, publish it wherever. And all royalties will be donated to Diamond Valley Writers Guild. We've set up an email address specifically for submissions. That's dvwgsubmissions@gmail.com. And again, subject line, and this is all be in writing. It'll be on the website probably by Monday. In the subject line, we need your last name followed by your first name, title of the work, and the word count. But again, do not put your name on your manuscript, please. Submission deadline is going to be May 31st at 11:59 p.m., I'm told. Okay? If you have any questions, you can go to the website. You can email the guild. We'll forward you information. But I think that's exciting. What do you guys think? Yeah? Happy? Okay. And that being said, membership dues is due. If you haven't already paid, now's the time. Thank you for those of you who have renewed your membership. It's greatly appreciated. We've got a really good kickoff to that. I think we've got several, like 6 or 7 people that we've never even have ever been members before that have joined. Lots of renewals. So the membership renewals are going well. But my goal this year is to hit 100 members. And we're about a third of the way there already. So hopefully we can hit that. And last year we had, I think, 82 paid members. So the goal is to increase that to 100 paid members. Information will go into the chat. I think Lynette's doing that this morning. As to how to pay your dues, you can go to the website, go to the drop down that says join, and at the bottom there's a PayPal link. You can pay that way. You can send a check to the PO box. All the information is on the website. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin now, our vice president, for a few moments to talk about the website and the member book page update. Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, just a reminder that you need to renew your membership by the end of February, because March 1st, we will start removing books for non-paid members off the website. And somebody had asked me on somewhere, I can't remember if it was Facebook or Twitter or what, about the order of the books. And the books are ordered on the website by the release date that is advertised on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever it's listed at. So if you add me or you want me to add a new book to the site, but it was released 2 years ago, it's not going to be on the front page. Just so everybody knows. And as for new members, if you have a book on Amazon or any of those services, all you have to do is let us know or let me know, and I will actually scour and pull up to 10 books that you already have out and put them into the site in the order of the release date. So that's pretty much my spiel on the member book section, which is it's quite different if you haven't checked it out from what it used to be, and it's got a lot more information, and yeah, it's growing pretty good. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. You're doing an amazing job with our website. If you haven't been to our website lately, it's interactive. There are forums. It's pretty darn cool. You can put your information up there to link to your books, to link to your website. Lots of communication going on the website. Now we're going to move on to Lynette. She has a few reports. The first one she has is on YouTube, on our YouTube channel.
Good morning, everybody. Really exciting news. All of our meetings from last year, all our speakers are up running on our YouTube site. And we also have acquired older meetings from like 2020 and all the way up to current. And so if you miss any, sorry guys, if you miss any of our meetings, you can go out to our YouTube site and catch up. And I will post all the web links in the chat for those of you who are on Zoom. So
excellent. Yeah. So be patient on the year and a half of past Zoom meetings. We had to pull them from another person's YouTube channel, that a member of the guild, and putting it on our own, because at the time we were recording meetings and posting them, we didn't have our own YouTube channel. Now we do. Lynette, shout outs?
Yes, shout outs. Every month we post shout outs and celebrations for our members who have published a book in the prior month. So this month the shout outs will go for anything that was published or celebrations from December. So if you've got a book, you got it published, you're a member, a paid member, send me a copy of your book cover, a blurb so people know what it's about, and of course, don't forget your purchase link. And we compile those. I usually send the shout out request on the 5th of the month, so already kind of asked for that. Our deadline is the 20th of the month, but if some of you are renewing today and stuff, I will have that leeway there to get you included, and then we try to get the announcement out on the 28th of every month.
A side note to that is that we have almost 450 people on our email list. So when those shout outs go out, it's going out to 450 people, which also includes reciprocal groups, libraries, Atlantia, the California Writers Club. There's a lot of other groups that it goes out to. So it isn't just the paid members that get those. So it has a little bit of a reach there. Lynette, Nano Challengers.
Okay, so we had a accountability group for NaNoWriMo last year. We met starting in October through November, and then finished up the first Tuesday in December. We had roughly about 7 people who participated this past year, and some of us made the 50,000. In fact, we had one member who wrote 70,000 words in a month. Some of us just did our best. Personally, hit my word count high over the 7 years I've been doing Nano. So it was really fun. It was a great way to get together and say, how you doing? And have a little bit of accountability. And I look forward to us doing something again at the end of this year.
I know this seems like the Lynette show, but she's our member at large, member of the board of directors, and she handles a lot of these little hats. So one more She came up with an idea, and I thought it was fabulous. The board voted on it, and so we're going to implement it. Go ahead, Lynette.
Okay. Super, super excited about this one, guys. And I will be sending out a survey to the group to see who's interested in participating and try and get some dates and stuff. But we are going to start a kidlit critique and accountability group. So I know we have a lot of people who write lots of different genres, but we haven't really addressed those of us who write children's literature. So it'll be picture books, early readers, kids books, all the way up probably to YA, but definitely through middle grade. So if you feel like you have no home and you've been writing picture books and kids books, you have a home now. So we'll be getting some details out, find out what the interest is, and get going. I am planning right now on probably meeting once a month. So you can bring critique pages and we'll work up some guidelines for that. Or if you just want the accountability of saying, I'm still working on it, writing about, a little boy and his dog, and I need some feedback, anything. We want to just get some support for our children's book readers.
Okay, Jessica Bruce has a request and announcement. We need some help. Here you go.
Good morning, everyone. So this is mostly for the people in the room. Zoom people, if you would like to come in to do this live, that's always an option. But since the people are here, if you're in the room, you see probably all these wires and gadgets and everything like that. That's part of the tech setup. That's what makes this meeting possible. So we can see people on Zoom and they can see people in the room. And you're probably thinking, wow, that is so cool. I want to do that too. Well, have I got the offer for you? We are accepting volunteers to come and assist with learning how to do the hybrid system. So you would come in early before meetings, help set up, learn how to do it, and even help run it. There's a team of about 2.5 people, and I say a half people because there's one for already helping with setup, and then 2 of us running it back there. But we always need more help. And if one of us gets sick, our workflow goes down. So if you would like to learn or you'd like to help out with the guild because you're thinking we're so cool and you just want to do everything in your power to assist, please come see either myself or Liam Bruce back there at the end of the meeting, and we'll get you all set up and trained if you'd like to do it. All right? Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we're coming to probably my favorite part of the meeting, and that is the member successes. So both on Zoom and here in the room, and we'll start with someone on Zoom because it takes a minute for people to get up. But if anyone, since our last meeting in October, so that's quite a while, it's been 3 months, anybody who has a project start they want to announce, because if you announce it, it becomes real, and now you've got accountability, that's cool. Completions on projects, recent publications, awards, anything exciting that has happened since the last meeting at the end of last October, please, 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 and you don't have to be a member to participate. If you have first-time attendee and you've had a writing-related success, please let us know. Anybody on Zoom? Okay, Tad, go ahead.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. By the way, I just paid my PayPal to update my membership, so I'm back, hopefully back in good standings and get my book back up on the site. But as a nonfiction author, one of the areas where you actually have the best revenue opportunity is through speaking and consulting engagements. And one of the really good news and exciting is that I've just signed an engagement with a company called Lifeguard Health Networks, and they've got a product that is used for basically comprehensive management of remote healthcare. So they're working with people like the Stand Up to Cancer Foundation and other organizations to provide a network and a mobile device for doing healthcare. And the great thing is that someone recommended me to the CEO. She read my book, and when we met, she was quoting back phrases to me from my book. So the book definitely made a big difference in that engagement. So that's my good news for the day.
That's great news, Tad. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm Dennis Conrad, and in the last couple of months, a lot of things have happened. some of you have been following along in the story of what's happened with the 2-cent piece. And the 2-cent piece is the story of a little girl, Anne, who lives during the Civil War and gets some of the first coins with the words, "In God We Trust." And she gives them to her brothers, and what happens to the coins is the rest of the story. But the Audible book was on a blog tour, and it ended up hitting a #1 new release category, so that was excellent on Audible. Then I had another book published on October the 30th, and that is Marcus and the Emperor's Coin. And I am working with Elk Lake Publishing, and I have an editor and everything, and we worked really hard. And when the blog tour started, the book immediately became a #1 new release. But then within a short period of time, it became an Amazon bestseller in 2 categories. One is Christian historical fiction, and the other is Christian relationship fiction. So what has happened is now I am an Amazon best-selling author. So, so the good thing is then just the other day I was looking on Audible, and I found out Marcus and the Emperor's Coin, which is the story of a denarius. And ultimately, Jesus holds up a denarius. This little boy makes a denarius in ancient Rome, and then Jesus holds up a denarius and says, "Give to the emperor the things that are the emperor, and unto God the things that are God's." And this has now become an Audible #1 new release. So a lot has happened, but thank you so much for your encouragement, and it's so glad to be here. See you all.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's great news. Gosh, I remember when you first said, "Hey, I've got this idea for a kids book." Seems like only yesterday. It was like, what, 3 years ago you started the project about? 3, maybe 4? Okay, welcome. Okay, anyone else have any successes? Now, I know there's got to be more successes over the last 3 months. Yeah.
Hello.
Good. Get to you next. Okay, go out on Zoom, and then we'll go back to the room.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Tessa Floriano. I don't know if you can see me. My camera has been having issues lately. Okay, you can. September, I kind of went a little out of my comfort zone, and I published my first nonfiction book, Italians in the Pacific Northwest. And I went on a 13-city book tour, which was nice. And since then, the book has been shortlisted for a Nellie Bly Journalistic Nonfiction Award. So I'll hear about that in April. And also, I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle has a sister city in Italy called Perugia, and that sister city approached me to put together a traveling exhibit of my work. So we're now working on getting funding, and then hopefully we'll have museums wanting to lease the exhibit and such. We'll have the first exhibit here in Seattle, but then we'll see where it wants to travel. I've also been asked to speak in New York at the Christopher Columbus Society. So that's pretty exciting. And somebody reached out and wants to write a song based on my work. So we'll see how all those projects kind of come together. But it's pretty exciting to, having stepped out of my normal genre, which is historical fiction and historical mysteries, to do this nonfiction book and to have some of these projects come my way. So thank you. That's my news.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Okay, please come on up. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Yes, I'm Genoa Harris. I've been a member since inception. I just haven't been coming to meetings. I have a situation at home with my son who has a kidney failure, but I was able to get here today. I want to thank the Gill for giving a shout out to my new book that was published on Amazon through KDP, right? So I illustrated it myself, and because I did this, I'm a member of the Hemet Valley Art Association. So I'm trying to get them to put it in the gallery, and I'll sell it at a reduced price. And anything I sell, the proceeds will go to the gallery, of course, like that. And so I'm working on a new book. Oh, everybody that's in this book, it's fiction. Some people get upset because it's really dark. People do get killed. It's a jar of cha-cha, and it's short stories about people who kill and get away with it. But it's all fiction, guys. Yes. And so I'm working on a new book, but it's going to be a while. And I have another project that I would like Michelle to look into. And it's, I know I go to the downtown deli a lot. And I've seen you go in there. And I think you may know someone. And I was hoping, the art gallery has a lot of art in the down represented. And I was hoping that we could get a little space where we could give a poem a year or something to represent it.
We'll look into that.
Yeah,
we'll look into that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Genoa. Yes, I've known Genoa a long, long time, and actually I've read some of her work in the critique stages because we used to be in a critique group together. She's a very powerful writer. You got to pick up her book. By the way, all these books from members, if you're a paid member, are on the website. You can go in and you can put the name of the author, first name, last name, book title, a keyword out of the title, and it should pop up in your search on the website. Okay, anyone else on Zoom who has an announcement? Looking. Doesn't look like it. Anyone else in the room? If not, we're going to move on to, we have two special guests. They are both members of the Guild. But this is their first meeting, even though they've been members for months. And that's Stacia Deutsch and Felicia Horton. And they established a Temecula Valley Writers and Illustrators group in Temecula earlier in last year. It was about April, right? So I asked them to come up and say a few words about that. We're so excited to have them.
Hello. Well, we're glad to make it. We're not that far. No excuse. We'll have to come back for sure. Get in the frame, Station. When we first met, we thought there were maybe 2 or 3 of us in Temecula. We have over 100 members right now. So there are a lot more than 2 or 3. But we do a lot of what you do, but we do some things a little differently. We're planning on picking Michelle's brain today on some of the things that we need help with because we are new. But one of the things we do differently is we, after our meeting, we don't go eat. We do our breakout groups where we support each other. So our philosophy really is helping each other out. Our breakout groups are to give free information, free support, be there for each other. But beyond that, we have a marketplace that we're developing on our website where we can then list our services. So a lot of people who are self-published or you're looking for art, your illustrator, we will have that place where you can list your services and your fees so that we support you as well on what you do outside of just your writing. Anything else you want to add to that?
It's super exciting for us from the Temecula Valley to be here. And I want to thank Michelle, who I actually met in San Diego at a different writing group. And I'm so excited about your Zoom setup.
We're really jealous, by the way.
We have a lot of growth to do. But we're all in and we love it. And we love that we are combining artists and writers in the Valley. So please check us out. We're at Temecula Valley WI, writersandillustrators.com. And on Facebook, you can look the same, Temecula Valley Writers and Illustrators. We are also launching an anthology this year with stories that take place in the Temecula Valley. It can be anything. So if you want a second opportunity to showcase your work, please check that out on our website. It is not interactive as yours yet, but we are growing. And we welcome you all to be part of us as we want to be part of you. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
As several writers that I respect say, rising tide raises all boats. And that's kind of the philosophy here. So be a member of both groups. Plug in anywhere you can to, strengthen your writing, to network. Writers need writers. And these are a great group of people down there in Temecula. I'll be down there tomorrow. Yes, Angie.
The third Sunday.
Tomorrow.
Between 11 to 1. We're very excited because we don't have a home like you. You got to keep watching to see where we're going.
Okay, I'll repeat this for the Zoom participants. Stacia said they don't have a home like we do. They kind of move around. They're nomadic at this point. We never quite know where we're going to be when we meet. But they got a good guest speaker tomorrow, a friend of ours. Oh, he's not coming?
If you
Okay. Okay. Yes, please. Sorry. Hold on. We know that you all have had Jonathan Mayberry come here, and we were jealous, so we booked him, and now he's sick. So you're going to message and tell him how disappointed we are.
I'm going to tell him how disappointed.
But we don't want his germs. So he'll come back another time. Tomorrow, Catherine Otoshi is going to jump in on writing illustrated manuscripts. She is both an artist and an illustrator. She's written a children's book series that she independently published and then went on to sell 500,000 of. So we're going to pick her brain a little bit and hear what she has to do. We also believe that all boats rise, and so what we like to do in our speakers is to elevate somebody from the community to tell a little bit about what they're doing. Jonathan was a win, and we will get him back. So, thanks. I know that was on. Well, that happens. Sometimes people get sick. But for those of you on Zoom, that is a local group that does not have a Zoom presence. It is in person only, and it is tomorrow at 11 to 1. 11 to 1 at the Temecula Valley Historical Society's Red Barn. That's a mouthful. Temecula Valley's Historical Society's Red Barn, what? Next to Coles. Okay, yeah. So I'll try. If you get me something, I'll send it out to the members. Okay. Anyway, that being said, I do want to let you know, because Statia's so humble. Okay, Stacia is a New York Times best-selling author. She has written how many books, Stacia? 350 books. So listen to this woman, and I'm very, very honored that she's a member of our group. Anyway, let's move on. We have a tip. Kay, our own Kay Murphy, who is also a member, has a writing tip she's going to share.
Hello, all my writer friends. It's really good to see so many people here today and so many people on Zoom. This is really, really great. When Michelle asked me to do a writer's tip today, I told her I was going to talk about adverbs, and I know that she assumed what I was going to say, and I did not correct her, because actually I'm going to speak in defense of adverbs. Please don't throw things at me. Or just do it, give me a heads up so I can try to catch it. If I could give you two, from my vast writing background, if I could give you 2 words of advice, it would be: 1, read as much as you write. Read in your genre, but read other things as well. And the other would be keep working on your craftsmanship no matter how long you've been writing. To that end, I will say that what is trendy isn't always good. And I'm going to get to adverbs, but I want to say this first. What is trendy isn't always good. Case in point, mullets. I don't want to offend anybody who has worn or is wearing that fashion statement. I'm sure that hair fashion can be construed as very attractive on some men to somebody. My former husband thought that his mullet made him look sexy, which is unfortunate. But we're not married anymore, so it's all good. And who was I to disabuse him of that notion that he had? And I say, whatever makes you feel sexy, then you should rock it. And I'm the last person to talk to you about fashion, let me tell you, in anything, hair or clothes or whatever. But however, having been a writer for 50 years now, literally, I see a lot of things that trend. And because now I'm the old curmudgeon-y kind of person, the get off my lawn kind of person, it's just, I'm always just slapping my forehead. So let me just give you a couple of quick examples. When I started writing, it was show, don't tell. I heard that a million times at writers' conferences. Show, don't tell. We don't want a lot of narration. You just want to jump right in with action and with dialogue and da-da-da, and don't bore your reader because you're going to lose them if you have, if you're telling. Except also, if you look at, say, To Kill a Mockingbird or East of Eden or A Tale of Two Cities. Those books are fabulous, and they begin with pages of narration, telling, no show, just tell. You know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. Huh, that sounds vaguely familiar, it rings a bell right now. The season of light, the season of darkness, that goes on for an entire paragraph, and then after that, there's pages and pages. And Dickens is just setting the tone and the mood politically and historically for what's going on. Harper Lee does the same thing in To Kill a Mockingbird. So yes, eventually they will show us, but they're going to tell us too. So there's balance in everything. Another example, what came right after Show Don't Tell for me was I started hearing a lot, again, at writers' conferences, writers' groups, was write what you know. I can still remember the first time I heard this because I was 21 years old. And I had just started writing, and I was at a writers' conference, and I was doing freelance writing, and I thought, whoa, that's a very nice thing to say, but I'm 21 and I don't know very much. I could phrase that differently, but I didn't know very much. I knew two things at the age of 21 that I was really good at. I was really good at training horses. Also, I was really good at birthing babies. Don't ask me why, but I was already teaching Lamaze. Those were the only two things I was good at. And I knew those two things, and I really didn't know how to write about those things. Although I did end up writing my first book about birthing babies, so I guess that's okay. But the thing is, think of all this volume of literature in fantasy and science fiction and futurism and dystopian literature that did not come from what those people knew. It came from their imaginations. And as writers, a lot of times we do live in our imagination, right? And so that's where our stuff comes from. Which brings me finally to adverbs. So apparently some years ago it became trendy, and I'm sure in writers' workshops this thing started, don't use adverbs because it's a sign that your writing is weak. And I had to come about this in an uncomfortable way because I submitted to a small online journal a little memoir piece, and it was an online journal, so I got a nice email back saying, from the editor saying, I'm not choosing to use this for two reasons. One, because she questioned the veracity of it, and I'm here to tell you that I do write a lot of memoir. I've never embellished or made anything up. But okay, how do I prove that I had these encounters with rattlesnakes? I don't know. There was no one there but me. And the second one was, she said, your writing is strong, but it's because of your use of adverbs. She didn't say your overuse of adverbs. She said your use of adverbs, which left me scratching my head. I was quite surprised and disturbed. And so I called my buddy Michael, who is 35 years my junior, so he's not the old curmudgeonly guy yet, like I am. And I said, what is the deal? And he goes, yep, yeah, Murphy, that's the thing now. You know, you're wimpy as a writer if you use adverbs. Oh, my God. Okay. And not long after he told me that, I encountered this post online with a young writer saying, oh my God, I keep forgetting, I don't use adverbs, so I just hit upon this idea that worked really well. I just used the find function to find all the words that end with ly, and I just went back and deleted them. Yay me. Okay, that's kind of like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That's just all I'm going to say about that. So please don't do that. And I get that you want to use a strong verb rather than a weak verb or a neutral verb and then an adverb to modify. I get that. So here's an example, okay, in case you're kind of lost in all this. So John typed forcefully as he vented. And if you're ahead of me, and I'm sure you're far ahead of me on this, you're already rewriting it in your head. So how about this? John pounded the keyboard as he vented. Great, we took the adverb out, we use a better verb, that's good. And this is true in dialogue as well. Here's an example. I love how you do that, she said. teasingly. Okay, and again, you're already doing the edit in your head, so here's a better way of saying that. I love how you do that. She teased. Okay, great. I get that, and that is really good. Except that sometimes you need an adverb. And I agree with William Zinsser. He's the author of On Writing Well. I'm sure you all have that book in your writing arsenal. If you don't, I highly recommend it. That we should write tight. That's what he says. Write tight. And sometimes finding a stronger way to express what we're trying to say requires using an adverb. I don't think we need to hunt down and kill every adverb in our writing. Consider this. Take off your clothes, he whispered. Okay, whoa, what is happening here? Take off your clothes, he whispered. Is he a lover? Is he a perv? I don't know what he's saying. There are all kinds of ways to whisper, but our English language is limited. So we have one, and it's whispered, even though people whisper in different ways, right? So how do we say how he whispered? We stick an adverb on there. So how about this? Take off your clothes, he whispered, teasingly. So now we can use teasingly, and that's okay. Unless you have another word for that, in which please tell me later, because I was challenged to do so. Anyway, I do notice also that nowadays, because we're not using adverbs, there are some authors who go to great lengths to avoid using adverbs by adding extra words like, take off your clothes, he whispered, winking and raising his eyebrows. Okay, that's not writing tight. That's just adding a whole bunch of words to try to say what you could say in one word with an adverb. That's just my defense there. And let me give you one more example, because I found this in a book. The small man stepped nervously beside him. If we take out the adverb here, we are left with the small man stepped beside him, which offers no sense of the frame of mind of the small man, which in this case is very important. If we were editing this work, we might suggest to the writer that they show this with some description of the small man to show that he's kind of a jiggly, kind of squirrely kind of guy. But if we did that, it wouldn't be writing tight, and also we would be editing John Steinbeck, because that's where that passage comes from. Here it is in its entirety. His huge companion flung himself down and drank from the surface of the green pool, drank with long gulps, snorting into the water like a horse. The small man stepped nervously beside him. Lenny, he said sharply. Lenny, for God's sakes, don't drink so much. All I'm saying is that you continue to work on your craftsmanship. If something sounds trendy, it may be a good suggestion, but don't feel like you have to follow every trend. If you're going to use adverbs, just use them as you would spice in your cooking, sparingly.
Thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. And somehow I lost my bios. Did somebody pick them up? Uh-oh. See them over there? Is there something over there? Can I have that? Can I have that behind the computer? Someone bring that to me? Yeah. Is that them? Oh, you picked it up. Dennis was the culprit. Yes. She asked who the author of Writing Well was, and that's William Zinsser, in case you are interested. Hold on a second, one more question. Yes, Dennis? Yes, in fact, all those books over here are giveaways. Feel free at the end of the meeting to go peruse and take what you want. So that being said, I did not have an opportunity to read Kay's bio, so I'm going to do that very quickly in hindsight. No, I need to, so you need to know who she is. S.K. Murphy, don't Google K. Murphy, because there's another poet named K. Murphy. You have to go through S.K. Murphy, is a poet, freelance writer, and the author of 4 books published both traditionally and independently. She holds a master's degree in British and American literature, has taught both high school and college English as her day job, and is also known as mom and nana to her kids and grandkids. Her fur babies include 1 rescue dog and 1 black cat. I would have read that in advance, but I couldn't find my bio. So now, that being said, we're going to move into our featured speaker, who is on Zoom today. And that is Karen DeBonis, who is also a member of the Guild, and she writes about motherhood, people-pleasing, and personal growth, inspired by experience of raising her son, Matthew. Her debut memoir, Growth, A Mother, Her Son, and the Brain Tumor They Survived, was released by Apprentice House Press in May of 2023. Her essays have appeared in the New York Times, HuffPost, Newsweek, and Today, the digital version, and numerous literary journals. A happy, empty nester, Karen lives in upstate New York with her husband of 40 years, also known as her loyal marketing grunt. You can see more of her work at www.karendebonis.com, or you can go to the Diamond Valley Writers Guild website and find her books and click on her stuff there. Karen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Before I start, I'll go to my slides today, but I did want to just, I dressed up for the occasion. I'm not just being a slacker and dressing in a ripped t-shirt here, but this is one of my t-shirts with my book cover on it, and on the back it has my QR code for my Amazon link, and actually have earrings that I got on Etsy with my book cover. There's a number of different vendors who you can get these from, and of course I have my table runner that I use frequently when I have events. So that being said, I'm going to share my screen and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. Sorry, I'm always a little awkward with this. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, let's see, trying to get rid of myself a little bit. So this is the basics of book self-marketing. And I have to say, well, first, thank you to the Diamond Valley Writers Guild for giving me this time. And I have to say, I'm a little bit intimidated. My imposter syndrome is kicking in pretty well. One of my takeaways and the purpose of doing this is to let you know that if I can market my book, you can also, because I knew nothing about marketing. I have no background. And so, I'm not a true expert. And it's just hearing some of the people talking about their books and their projects and that type of thing. I'm thinking to myself, you probably know a lot more than I do, but I'm going to tell you what I know. And there might be some ideas that you haven't thought about, and take what you will and leave the rest. Oops, wait a minute. Here, how do I go back? This technology is not my... Well, oh darn. I'm so sorry. You can tell me. There we go. Okay.
Karen, the arrow key should... Oh, you got it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was hitting the wrong arrow key. So I wasn't a writer. I wasn't one of those kids who, sat under my covers at night with my notebook and my flashlight. I wasn't one of those kids, but it was in 1999, I had a story to tell, and that's my memoir. As Michelle said, Growth, A Mother, Her Son, and the Brain Tumor They Survived, that came out last year. I knew nothing about writing and less about marketing. And the whole thought of marketing my book was completely absurd, the thought that I could possibly do it. I just have no background, no interest. And yet, 25 years later, I have a book and I've marketed it pretty well. And one of the taglines for my book is, can a woman who never learned to stand up for herself find the courage to speak up for her son? So one of the things I want you to think about too is always to be open to the possibility that you can do more with your writing life and your author life than you thought possible. For me, this is a mantra that I use frequently in my life for lots of different things. And again, if I can do this marketing, then I believe that you can too. And no matter how much you're, that tape in your head that's telling yourself, oh, I can't possibly do this, create a new tape that says, I am open to the possibility. So a quick overview, I'm going to talk about what is marketing and why do I need to do it? Like me, the author, haven't I worked hard enough already to get this book out there? And the presentation is pretty much going to be broken into two parts, pre-publication marketing. And after that, I'll have some time for questions and answers. So you can submit your questions in the chat, but I'm not going to stop just because I have a lot of information that I'm going to move through pretty quickly. And we'll stop for questions and answers after that. And then post-publication marketing, and I'll have some questions and answers after that. And I want to leave you with a couple of takeaways, and those have to do with managing your expectations. And those of you who are already published authors or perhaps on your way, you understand what that means. And also holding on to hope. And don't feel like you have to take a lot of notes, because if you, after the presentation, if you email, this is an old slide. The library will provide a link to these slides. No, the Diamond Valley Writers Guild will provide a link or send you the slides if you request them. So, the links will be working, and you won't have to take a lot of notes today. So, as I said, I'm not a pro, and today I'm really going to go over just the basics of book marketing. There are many experts who can take you far beyond the basics. So if you know more than I do, and you want to know a little bit more, here's a list of some writers, and you'll have the links to them. Writers and authors and marketing experts who can really help you with the whole marketing journey. And I'm also a member, in addition to the Diamond Valley Writers Guild, the Hudson Valley Writers Guild, which is in my neck of the woods in New York State, and also the Authors Guild. And all of these sites and people have great resources in terms of marketing. I have an asterisk there for Fazia Burke. In fact, I think that's how I first came across this Writers Guild, was that Fazia did a presentation. It might have been about marketing. And she actually has, I'll get back to it. She has some resources to help writers and authors set up a website. And yes, most of these people are women, and in my world, that's just kind of how it works. But there's lots of other experts who can take you beyond the basics. So why do I need to market my book? And let's talk a little bit quickly about, first, the difference between marketing and publicity. Marketing is what you do. Publicity is what others do for you. So, for example, when I bring my tablecloth runner to a book event, or wearing my nice T-shirt here, that's marketing. I'm letting people know that I have this book available. If I were to wake up tomorrow morning, let's say, and find out that the New York Times decided to review my book, that would be publicity, and quite nice publicity, as you all know. But I'm also a realist, so I know that's not going to happen. Even large publishers offer little marketing for authors, unless they're really famous or sales are very promising. I imagine Prince Harry, when his book came out, he probably had a whole marketing team behind him. But for us average writers, publishers, even small publishers, often offer little support for marketing, or none at all. And publicists are very expensive. I looked into a couple publicists before my book came out, and the quotes that I got were in the $30,000 range, which is far beyond my budget. And that was for a 4 to 6 month campaign. And the particular publicist that I talked to did not do a shortened campaign. So they were just out of the reach for me. And so therefore, if the doesn't do marketing and publicists are too expensive, then really the author has no choice but to market, if they really want to get word out about their book. So let's talk about pre-publishing marketing. Everything is marketing, the way I look at it. You are selling yourself, not just your book. So as you interact with people in all different kinds of settings, you want to make sure people see kind of who you are as a person. You are more than just your book. You're more than just a sale of your book. And so anytime you interact with people and have any discussions about books or writing, you're doing some marketing. And this is just a list of different ways that you can market through published essays, attending conferences, being here today, befriending your local librarians and indie bookstore staff. Buying books is part of marketing your own book, because you are putting yourself in that community of writers. And of course, reviewing books. I'm sure you all know how important reviews are to an author. Doing a talk, so obviously for me, this is marketing right now. You probably never heard of me or my book, and now you have. So that's marketing. And I think it was Michelle, Michelle or Kay, who mentioned a rising tide raises all boats. And that's a great way to, and another way to talk about being a good literary citizen, which basically means that you're supporting other authors and writers. So I had started my book, a memoir, around 1999. My son was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 1997 when he was 11. And like I said, I wasn't a writer. And then a couple years after that ordeal and that surprise, I felt that I did have a story that I needed to tell. So I wrote for several years, starting from scratch. I knew nothing, like I said. Then life kind of happened, and I had to pull back for a number of reasons. And then in 2016, for different reasons, I had the opportunity to return to my book. And at that time, I decided that a goal for myself, or a guideline for myself, is read something, say something. So what that means is that as I was, coming across essays or articles and that type of thing, if it grabbed me enough that I wanted to read it, then I was going to take the time to comment. And, you want to try to be as constructive as possible and as flattering, if it's true, as possible. You can track down writers to praise them without stalking, please, and find different ways to connect. So, for example, if I read something by an author that really resonated with me or my own particular interests, then I would Google them and see if I can find a website where I can leave them a message. Or at times I've tried to track down, if I couldn't find the author, track down the publisher or the agent even, and just try to get a message to that author to say, hey, what you wrote, this really resonated with me. Or I never thought about this way, and thank you for, opening my mind and giving me that exposure. So it's really important to be a good literary citizen and raise all those boats together. It's also good writer karma. That's another way to look at it. So you want to make sure karma is working for you. And making lists is a part of your pre-publication marketing. So you want to make a list of journalists who write about your themes as you come across them. You read something and you feel like, oh, this journalist, we have something in common here in terms of our writing or what we're working on. So make a list of them. Relevant published authors in your genre, or again, who write about themes similar to yours. Friends with contacts. Do you have friends who work in libraries or who are journalists or know people who are journalists? Make a list of who might like your book. Maybe colleagues, church members, neighbors, anybody. Start that list. If you come across a podcast that you can picture yourself on sometime, put that down. Radio show, book reviewers, conferences, colleges, libraries, all those type of things. And I'm going to move this screen up here. So the other thing you can do is set up a Google alert, and you'll get the link to how to do that in the slides. And I have, so I write about, obviously, brain tumors, and so I have a Google alert set to brain tumors. So anytime somebody's in the news, for example, it was a week or two ago, I'm not a big, I think it's either the Today Show or Good Morning America, but Michael Strahan, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, one of the regulars on the show, his teenage daughter was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So of course I got many Google alerts because that made news, that made, it was kind of trending on the internet. And I write about people pleasing. So I have a long list of famous people who self-admit to being people pleasers, including Oprah and Beyonce, kind of surprising people. And I have a list and I have a link to the article. So, you never know when that's going to come in handy, where I can either connect with that person, or if I'm writing an essay, make reference to somebody else who also struggles or has struggled with people pleasing. So lots of lists should be part of your pre-publication marketing. Okay. There's one essential that I feel is really critical so that others can find you, and that is your website. And don't panic. I'm sure many of you have a website. If you don't panic. Again, my computer skills in 2016 were terrible. I had at that time I used a computer at work, but I really didn't have a lot of skills beyond email and occasional spreadsheets and that type of thing. And so I got some help from a site, and I did create a website. If I can do it, you can do it. And on that list of experts that I had in an earlier slide, I had an asterisk next to Fawzia Burke. She actually offers website actually design support for a pretty reasonable fee monthly. So there are lots of places that can help you. The Authors Guild for members has support to create a website. And your website doesn't need to be fancy. It should have a homepage, and you don't always need anything else. My particular website has a bunch of pages, but you don't need to make it complicated. On that homepage, you'll want a contact form, or you can create a separate page. And that form is so people can write to you. And again, your website is so people can find you. If they read an article that you wrote or an essay that you wrote, and it really resonated with them, and they want to tell you, and they Google you and they can't find you, then you've lost that opportunity. And the contact form is important because then people can let you know what they're thinking. I'm sure for many of you, you periodically get people reaching out kind of from the stratosphere and just letting you know that they found you somewhere. And you want to make sure that you can be available to them just to connect. An optional essential is a custom email address. For example, mine is contact@KarenDeBonis.com. And you will get a, the screen again. You will get a link, and I can't move it right now, to how to create your custom email address. If you have Gmail or Yahoo or something else, it's perfectly fine, but that custom email address that just makes you look a little more professional, a little more serious, and also it's marketing. Because right there, you see my email, you see my name, Karen DeBonis, KarenDeBonis.com. So it's just a little thing, but sometimes it's the little things that can really make a difference. Then there are some essential components so you can find and engage with others. What do I mean by that? A mailing list is going to be a list of your subscribers, people who sign up to get information on your website. Many writers nowadays use Substack. I've used MailChimp since I started in 2016, and I'm still using the free version. And I have a link to my newsletter and my mailing list, only because I think it helps to see what other authors do, how they set up their whole interaction to get people to sign up. And I'll talk in a minute about a content magnet. So feel free to sign up for mine. I encourage you to do that. You'll also, by the way, get free my first chapter of my book free. And you can unsubscribe in a couple of days or, in a few months, whatever works for you. No hard feelings. I do have a newsletter that I'll be sending out probably Monday or Tuesday. So if you sign up soon, you'll get that newsletter. It'll give you a chance to see how I do my newsletter. Everybody's is a little bit different. And again, you can unsubscribe later. I don't have a problem with that at all. So one of the essential components is to remind the person who signed up that you still exist. So a blog or a newsletter is very helpful. Frequently, there's overlap between what is a blog and what is a newsletter. I've done both. In the past year or two, I used to have a blog that I sent out, and I really kind of strictly do a newsletter now, which is kind of newsy, so it serves as a blog in a way. And frequency is really less important than existence. So a lot of people feel, I have to send this newsletter out every week. And a lot of the people on the list that I gave you on one of the earlier slides, many of them have newsletters or information that comes out even daily. And that's great. But if you write part-time and you have another job or children and you just can't do that, it's less important that you write frequently than that you have some type of a newsletter. I think even twice a year, if you send out a newsletter, that's probably the minimum that you want to do. And even that is going to work to your advantage. Probably quarterly makes more sense. If you can do it weekly, that's great. For me, I do a monthly newsletter, and that seems really manageable for me. And a lot of this marketing is around the decisions that you make should be around kind of setting some of your own boundaries and what you're capable of doing, both budget-wise and in terms of attention and energy. So I don't think any author ever feels that they have done all that they could possibly do. And that's okay. It's a matter of figuring out what works for you and, what brings you joy also. So I mentioned here a content magnet. It's some type of freebie to entice people to sign up for your mailing list. So I actually tried a bunch of different things, again, in terms of being open to the possibility. When I first found out about, I'm sorry, I really can't get this little screen here out of the way. I'm going to just try. There we go. I'm sorry. See, I told you technology wasn't my thing. So in terms of being open to the possibility, when I found out about this thing called a content magnet, I couldn't imagine what I could possibly offer to attract people to want to sign up for my mailing list. Many fiction writers will offer a short story, but I don't write fiction. And it was a long time when I didn't even really consider myself a writer. So I tried a guided meditation video that I put together. I had some tip sheets, 50 ways to break free from people pleasing. And what I finally found was that offering my first chapter was really the most, for me, it worked best to get people to sign up to my website. Or from a mailing list. So think about what your content magnet could be and just, again, be open to the possibility that something will occur to you. You might have to try a few different things, and that's okay. But it's to attract people to want to sign up for your newsletter. Is social media necessary? The short answer is no. The long answer is it helps. So I would encourage you to think about if you, if you want to kind of get involved with social media, do you enjoy it? I have a page on Instagram, and once in a while I post something there, but I really don't understand Instagram. I just don't get how the interactions work. I could post something there, but I don't know what to do with it actually once it's on there. I don't know how to interact with the other writers or the other people on Instagram. Facebook, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, so I do some of my best interactions are on Facebook, and as long as I don't let it suck up too much of my time, it's okay. I joined Twitter. Well, actually, I call it TwitX now. I joined TwitX in 2016, and I never would have thought that I would join Twitter at the time. It just wasn't the type of thing that I did. But I found that there's a wonderful writing community on TwitX. And so it is something I've been pulling back a little bit lately, but it is something that can be enjoyable. And think about, where is your target audience? For me, Facebook seems to be where I find most of my, not just other writers, but people who usually women and mothers who might be able to relate to my book, some of the themes in my book. So again, it's kind of your call. It certainly can help. People will say that social media does not sell books. I will tell you, in my experience, it does, and it has, and I will end my presentation with a story about that. So, there's no guarantees. It's something that you have to really think about and figure out what works for you. It's important to invite others on your writing and publishing roller coaster. And as you know, it is a roller coaster. There's a lot of ups and downs. As you interact, it's important to be authentic. Remember, again, you're selling yourself. You're letting people decide if you are someone that they want to get to know more, or that maybe they have something in common with. So be authentic. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to make mistakes. And again, the story that I'll share at the end is about a kind of a big moment of vulnerability and how that worked to my advantage. And the reason why, the reason why vulnerability is important is because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's human. And so when people see that you have flaws, or that you screw up once in a while, they feel less intimidated by you, even though you're an author and a writer, which is a really cool thing. But they feel like, okay, this is someone I can relate to. They're not acting like they're better than me. They're not, this perfect person. And, you have to decide too where to draw some boundaries there. Obviously, you don't want to share personal information that you don't want other people to know about, because of course, once you put something on the internet, it's always there forever. So figure out where that line is for you. How can you be vulnerable without oversharing? No one can answer that, only you. And include others in your process. So on TwitX, when it was still Twitter, I think I had settled on this, my title here, Growth, but my subtitle, A Mother, Her Son, and the Brain Tumor They Survived. I did some crowdsourcing on Twitter. I gave some different options, and consistently people seemed to like the subtitle that I settled upon. And I have had some literary agents and editors at different times tell me that the subtitle especially is cliche. And I believe that is true, because there are other books that use some format of that mother-son concept. But again, with the response that I got on Twitter, it said to me, okay, this is what the average audience is going to relate to. And my book, I don't feel, is a literary work of art, although it's done pretty well, and I'll get back to that. But it's really something for a mainstream audience. So you can ask for feedback on social media and different ways that you interact. Again, set some boundaries. I wouldn't put a whole chapter out there on social media asking for feedback. But a title, subtitle, taglines, book covers, maybe a paragraph or two you can get some feedback on. And remember to be supportive. It's that whole literary citizen rising all the boats concept. You want to be respectful of others and support them on their journey. And you want people to have a sense of, I knew her when. And I have had that experience a lot. I started knowing nothing, really starting from scratch to get this book out into the world. And I have this sense both from my subscribers and people that I interact with on social media. I get the sense from them that they take pride in my success, and they have this feeling like they kind of have a feeling of ownership and helping me get there. They have the sense that, and people will say this to me essentially, like, oh, I knew you before you ever became a writer or an author. And, that's something that you want to kind of capitalize on if you can. Business cards are helpful. These particular cards were before I had a book deal. So, oh no, I'm sorry. I guess I had the book deal, but I didn't have a purchase link yet. So at this point, your goal is to gather mailing list subscribers or visits to your website. At this point, I did not have a purchase link. The book wasn't out yet. And so the QR code on the back takes people to my mailing list sign up page. And that was my goal before I had a purchase link, was to get people on my mailing list. You'll see on the bottom card, that's the back on the card, that I mention my content magnet. So I tell people I'll send you my first chapter. And this is, this really helps you use word of mouth marketing. And, those awkward moments. Maybe some of you that have written scores of books don't have this anymore. But for me, there's always that awkward moment when someone says, what do you do? Or I mentioned being a writer. And for me, it really helps to have that tangible card to give to somebody. And, hopefully get them interested in my book. These cards at the time I ordered from Vistaprint.com. I've gotten a number of my materials there. Also this tablecloth runner I've gotten from Vistaprint. But after I had some of this work done, I discovered it in my own town, a print company that does wonderful work. And I'll give you an example in a little bit. And so I encourage you to look for small businesses in your area who might do this work. And there's lots more than Vistaprint online. That just happened to be one that I was familiar with. And that's what I used. So the whole point of this, especially pre-publication marketing, is to get on people's radar. So I am now on your radar. I would not have been before. Those of you, especially those of you in the room live, are on each other's radars if you haven't met people before. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. And, there's this concept of people needing to be exposed to an item or something 7 times before they bite, before they buy, or before they, take another step to become more interested in it. So every little thing you do, like this is one of my 7 tries with you. It doesn't mean you're going to buy my book today, but now I'm on your radar. So that's really the purpose. So let me talk about this slide. Yes, that is a roll of toilet paper and a toilet paper holder. And this is my bathroom at home. And one thing you want to be prepared for is to answer the question, what is your book about? And you may not have a real clear answer depending on where you are in your book path. Hopefully by the time it's published, you can answer that question. But a lot of times that changes quite a bit. And so you want to be prepared to have an answer. What you don't want to happen is what happened to me at a family wedding a couple years ago. And someone, a cousin of my husband's, who I thought knew that I was writing a book, asked me, I mentioned that I wrote this book, and he said, what is your book about? And I said something like, Well, remember when Matt had that brain tumor when he was a kid? Well, and not that it's really about the brain tumor. It's really more about me as a mom. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a people pleaser, and I'm really trying to kind of overcome that. And in my book, that's a theme, and so it's kind of about that. You want to avoid that. So what I did at home was I had a number of different versions of answers to that question, and I stuck them around different places so I would kind of get them, adhere to my brain. And this one is, my book is about my naive expectations of motherhood and my inability to assert myself, even when my son's survival depended on it. And I could probably say that for you without reading it right there. I have another one, which is, my book is about shattered expectations of motherhood. Sometimes you need to be really short and concise. So part of your marketing is to start thinking about, how do you talk about your book? How do you answer the question, what is it about? All right, so we're going to pause for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing. And I know I talked a mile a minute, but I really wanted to get through all that material. So we'll see if you have some questions. Michelle, were there any questions in the chat?
Okay, so I can now see the chat again, which is fabulous. Anybody on Zoom have any questions for Karen? I'm not seeing anyone. I guess you've done such a good job. How about in the room? Anyone in the room have any questions? Great. Go to the microphone if you would, please. I know, but they can't hear you unless you do.
Michelle, I was going to say either everybody already knows all this stuff, or maybe I answered questions ahead of time.
You're just amazing. That's what it is. But we do have a question in the room. Here you go.
Okay. I want to know, where do I get those earrings and the shirt that you're wearing?
Oh, thanks. Well, these I bought on Etsy, and I did not. I tried to track down the vendor that I purchased them from, and somehow I cannot come across that exact one. But there are a bunch of different vendors on Etsy where you can order them. My husband actually got me my first pair, and it only had the front cover. It did not have the back. And then I found a vendor that had the front and the back, which I enjoyed, which I appreciate. And they also come in different sizes. My book cover is kind of faint, so it doesn't lend itself as well to earrings. But I've seen other authors who have really colorful colors on their book covers, and the earrings really work out well. So Etsy. And this shirt was actually a local print shop. It's the Troy Shirt Company, Troy, New York, who I discovered. And I gave them my book cover. I sent him an image of my book cover, and he put this here. And then I don't know if I can turn around for you to see it, but let me know if you can see this. On the back, I have my QR code and my tagline. Could you see that? Did I turn around enough? Okay.
We saw it beautifully. It was perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Etsy is a great place, and local. You might have a local print shop that can help you.
We do have another question in the chat. Marco, do you want to unmute and ask your own question?
Sure. My question was for you, Karen. If you ever paid for advertising on any platforms, or was it just everything you've done that you expounded upon?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, let me say first that I don't know what your experience has been, all the authors here, but none of this stuff, unfortunately, is cheap. So it's an investment, and it's kind of like my T-shirt, especially with the QR code on the back. I think of it as advertising. So obviously, I paid for that. I have not paid for or gotten involved with Facebook ads or Amazon ads. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And the only thing that I would say that I paid for, which you may not consider marketing, but it's awards and some contests. And I can speak about that a little bit. So again, one of the things that I've heard about publicists is, like I said, they can be very expensive. And I've heard from many different authors, I would say, kind of emerging authors like myself, who did not feel that they got the return for that large amount of money. So, what I will encourage, though, because here we're a community of writers and authors, so if anyone has thoughts about that and you want to put something in the chat, that might be helpful to answer Marco's question or anybody else. So did that kind of give you an idea, Marco? Okay, great.
Yeah, please go to the mic, introduce yourself, and ask your question.
Good morning. The question I have for you, the first one is, how is your boy today?
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, thank you. He's well. He's 37 now. It's been a long haul, and part of my story is kind of his and my discovery of post-traumatic growth, and I talk about that a little bit in the book. So thank you.
I love that. I always worry about kids. I lost my own daughter when she was 16. And so every time I hear something like that, it would have bugged me for days, I'm sure, if I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was wondering if you develop an annual marketing plan. This is something I recommend for the authors that work with me. And I have to ditto the publicist pricing. I just was talking to a publicist for another project I'm working on, which is an anthology for a networking group. And the quote was $12,000 for 3 months with no guarantee of any results. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I ditto what you just said about publicists. That was it.
Yeah. But let me just, you had a question about if I had a marketing plan or that type of thing. I did not. This whole process has been pretty overwhelming. So I had trouble. Also, my younger son got married in September. My book came out in May, and then my younger son got married in September. So I was kind of like playing catch up the whole year. I don't have a specific plan going forward. I have some goals, and if I remember, I'll speak about them next.
Okay, we have another question in the chat. Tad, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Yep. Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can, Tad.
Okay, I have a comment and a question. First of all, the comment is I've been approached by a lot of publicists. Some of them, you could tell superficially, read the summary on Amazon, and they say, "Oh, your book is great. I want to represent you," and blah blah blah. And the few that I've talked to, I usually come back with, "Well, good. I'm glad you love it. Will you work for a success fee?"
Mm-hmm.
And they scatter very quickly.
Yeah.
But the question, and this is maybe to you and the group, is the use of influencers. I've heard that some people pay for an influencer, and I was wondering if anyone has tried that and what type of results they've gotten.
Well, I can just speak a little bit to my own experience. I had the opportunity to use a woman who is very involved on Instagram, and she went after some influencers who actually did post my ARC at the time on their site, and it did nothing for me. So, and I'll speak to this a little bit later. So, Bookstagram, when that first started on Instagram, it seemed to be very successful. For a lot of authors, and also Book Talk on TikTok was successful from what I've read. And I'm not on TikTok at all, but from what I've read, both of those platforms aren't doing as well for authors these days as they were at the very beginning. But again, if anyone has other information, please put that in the chat.
Okay, we have another question in the room. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Karen. My name's Corinne, and I have a question for you about titles and book covers, actually more about book covers. do you have any suggestions about creating a book cover?
Oh, I don't. I apologize. I was fortunate enough that my small press had a a book cover designer, and so I worked with her, and we came up with the final cover that we have. But I did a lot of research about what was trending at the time, and colorful at the time. Colorful titles seemed to be the thing, but that just didn't feel like it was going to work. But please, I mean, I'm sure many of you, again, have more experience than me, so add something in the chat for any suggestions about book covers.
I read an article once about writing your own book, and the first chapter said, whatever you do not create your own book cover.
Yeah, I think I read that too.
I know that you think you're creative, and you are. You've just written a book, but do not. And I actually originally did create my own book cover, which I thought was kind of cool for the picture, and got some feedback pretty quickly. And so fortunately, my stepdaughter is a graphics artist, and what she did made all the difference in the world for the cover. So my advice would be recruit someone to help you with it. Yeah. if you're not a graphics artist.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, that's great, Ted. I absolutely agree. I do think it might help, like with my publisher, when it came time to design the book cover, I came to them with some ideas. I said, growth is a play on words in a number of different ways. So I wanted something that included, nature or plant or something like that. And one of the advantages of small presses is authors do tend to have more say in what the final cover looks like. And with larger publishers, frequently the author doesn't get much of a say at all.
So Teresa Burrell had a comment in the chat. Teresa, do you want to unmute and make your comment? Or you want me to read it?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've had the same experience with influencers. I've tried a number of them. I've spent a fair amount of money on it, and there are some experts out there who seem to think they can get you influencers that work, but my experience and those of colleagues I know have just been a small bump in the sales. It hasn't been worth the cost. And as for the book covers, there's a company, I think it's called 100bookcovers.com, and I have my own book designer, and I've had it for years because I've been doing this for a long time. But I know a number of people that use them, and they're quite reasonable and good to work with. So it might be worth checking out.
Sounds like a great resource. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, why don't we move on, and we'll have more time at the end for questions. And let me just say that if there are any questions that go unanswered because we run out of time, I know we have a hard stop. I think a little bit before at 2:30, but whatever your time is, 11:30, I think. I'm happy to feel free to email me, and I can share my experience and answer what I can. So let me go back to sharing my screen. So, here we go. Okay, thanks. All right, so let's talk about post-publishing marketing. So, like I said, my book card, like my business cards that I had printed before I had a purchase link, I had done by Vistaprint. And then after I discovered this local print shop, I had them help to design my bookmarks. And I think they did a fabulous job. And again, as Tad said, I think I have a little bit of design sense, but I could not have made something like this. And it was interesting. I actually preferred at the time, a business card to a bookmark. And then I learned that there are people who collect bookmarks and they value them more than a business card. And this guy at the local print shop, who's been in this business for many years, told me that the ROI, the return on investment for bookmarks, is much greater than they are for business cards. So now I have completely transitioned to bookmarks. And his suggestion also was to always hand out two. Now, of course, one or both of them may end up in the circular pile, but he said what tends to happen is people will pass that bookmark on. So as soon as you have a purchase link, you want to put that QR code on your bookmark or business card if you choose to do that, rather than just bringing people to your website. And by the way, I meant to mention about QR codes that don't panic if you don't know how to create a QR code or you don't know how to use one. I did not know how to use one until I had to figure this out. But you can just Google QR code generator and you'll have a number of free sites. You just put in your purchase link or whatever URL you want to connect it to, and it'll spit out a QR code, and then you can just cut and paste it where you want it. And I wanted to make just a mention of a pre-order link. So my book came out in May, as I said, and in my writing circles, there's all this talk about pre-orders and how important they are, and what is a pre-order link. So a pre-order link is essentially the same link that your post-publication link will be. So it's going to be the same purchase link just before your book is available to be sent out. Let's say we're talking Amazon. They consider it a pre-order link, and after it's just an order link. And of course, all those orders and pre-orders nudge the algorithms in your favor. My understanding is that that whole algorithm thing has changed a little bit in terms of orders, but still, the more, the evil Amazon sees, and I apologize if anybody works for Amazon, the more Amazon or the online retailers see that your book is being ordered, the more they believe or they assume that book is something that readers are going to want to see. And so your book will be shown more often to readers who are browsing. Just a real quick note about ARCs and blurbs. ARCs are advanced reader copies, also called galleys. They are unedited proofs. If you self-publish, I imagine that you would probably do the same thing where you print out what is almost a final version, and that's your chance to go through it and make corrections and look for little errors and that type of thing. A lot of authors will do a box opening video when they get either the ARCs or the final copy, and you'll have a link to my box opening video. Again, it's a way to bring people along on your journey. Let them see this whole process because they're gonna get excited about it for you. And blurbs are an endorsement of your book written by an author or an expert, also called advance praise. And unless you have an agent who's doing this for you or a publisher, for the most part, you're going to have to ask an author or an excerpt to read your book or your ARC and write you a blurb. And remember all those writers and authors you complimented, and remember the lists that you were making. These are the people that you are now going to go to because you've had some positive interactions with them. You've let them know what they're writing or what their expertise means to you. Or maybe you've read their book and you've told them that you really, it enlightened you or you enjoyed it. So now you can go back, and if you've had that previous positive interaction, it's going to be a lot easier to then ask them to write a blurb. So always offer sincere praise before you ask for praise for yourself. Who and what may help you sell your book? I'm going to go through all of these, except, as I mentioned, on social media, Book Talk and Bookstagram, because I have not been involved with them. I think they probably do sell books, but maybe not as much as they did at the very beginning. And Amazon and Facebook ads, I tried to figure them out, and to me that was just beyond the basics. I just did not have enough time and enough patience, I suppose, to figure it out. But I have heard, I don't know that I've ever heard from an author or writer in my circles where they felt that it was worth the expense for Amazon and Facebook ads. You may have a different experience, and that's great, but I'm not going to speak about those. So reviews may help sell your book. Of course, you know about Amazon and Goodreads reviews. Social media, I know a lot of writers who will post reviews right on their Facebook page. NetGalley is a review site. I don't remember if there's a charge to get your book reviewed there, but that's something to look into. Literary and mainstream magazines may review books. So again, one of your lists that you've created, as you come across a book review, write down that publication so you know, and then you can approach them and find out what needs to happen for you to get your book reviewed. Other authors and writer websites, I have writer friends who will review books on their newsletter and send that out. So any way that you can make connections and get reviews is going to work to your advantage. So let me talk a little bit about trade reviews. It's going to be a little bit difficult to read at the top. These are written by an experienced writer affiliated with organizations that exist to serve the publishing industry. Having a trade review gives legitimacy to your book. It shows that it has been vetted. So when you think about all the books that are published every single week, how does a reader decide, oh, this is the book that I want to read? How does a library or a bookstore decide this is the book we want to have on our shelves or in our collections? Trade reviews help to give you some legitimacy to say, okay, someone in the know looked at this book. Sometimes the publisher or publicist has to submit the book. Some of these, it's kind of a pay to play system where, for Kirkus, for example, you can submit your book, or your publicist or publicist may submit your book, and you don't get a review because they don't review all the books that they get. There's just too many. Or you can pay and get a review. So I did pay. I got Kirkus on sale for $400. It's a lot of money, but I did get a Kirkus review. There's a bunch of other trade review sites. I listed a few here, and there are probably others. So I do think it's worth your money and your time to at least try to get one trade review. Again, it just shows, it gives you some legitimacy. This is my sell sheet, and this is really helpful for libraries and bookstores. It has all the information on one sheet that they will need in order to purchase the book for their site. I designed this one on canva.com. It's a free design site. Again, I'm not a designer. If you're a designer, you're probably looking at this and thinking, oh, I could do a lot better. And I'm sure you can. But it serves the purpose. It's a nice visual. And again, it's that tangible thing that you can hand over to say, and how I use this is I would approach a library or bookstore and say, hello, if I do it in person, I'm a local author, wondering if you would consider purchasing my book for your collection. I give them the trade sheet. That way, if they're busy, if they can't have a conversation, they have all the information that they need right there. And you'll find, if you Google this, you'll find other examples of sell sheets. They're all a little bit different. So contests and awards, I mentioned about this a little bit. Again, it's a pay-to-play system. In literary circles, many authors and people in the industry frown on the kind of average contests and awards that you have to pay to be evaluated for. The way I look at it is, I'm a realist. I'm not going to win, a Pulitzer. I'm not going to win a national prize. So I have found that contests and awards can lead to some sales. For me, they have led to some sales. So think about, what is your budget? Because, it costs for most of these places. How many categories does the award have? Are there so many that everyone and their gardener can win? If so, then it kind of, it invalidates just a little bit your winning, because if everybody wins, what does it say about your book? But is there a perfect fit category for you? I just applied to an award, and the category that I hadn't seen in other awards was female empowerment, and it's just perfect for me. So I applied to that. And there's some, and also evaluate the odds. Do you think you're good enough? Look at the list of the previous winners. Do you think your book is on par with them? Do you think you can get shortlisted or become a finalist or get some type of recognition? If you win, there's different schools of thought about this, but if you win first place, you're considered an award-winning author. And I will tell you, as of a couple weeks ago, I'm an award-winning author. I did win a couple of first place awards. And Michelle, I didn't want to announce that earlier because I knew I was going to work it in here. And you'll have a couple links there to where to look up contests and awards, and also I think it's the Alliance of Independent Authors has a great awards and contest rating page that you can look at and make sure that you're not going to get scammed by a particular award, because you'll get scammed all the time. I'm sure this as writers and authors. There's always someone who wants to take your money and not give you anything back. Podcasts can help sell your books. There's some different search engines there. I'm going to speed up a little bit here so we get done. If you know other writers and authors who have been interviewed on a podcast, get that on your list, because you might be a good fit for that podcast also. Book clubs, not all books are book club books. If yours is, you can do virtual and live author visits. I've done only one live one so far, and I have a virtual one come up in a couple weekends. And again, if a book club picks your book, you're probably going to get some sales. Live and virtual events can sell your books, and keep your eyes open for community organizations, universities, those type of places that might have book events that you can participate in. Companion essays, essays on themes related to your book. You want to try to, if you choose to do this, get them placed as close to your book launch date as possible. Think about where you'll find your target audience. If you want to get some excerpts published, make sure you check with your publisher, because they might have some guidelines about what they will allow. It helps to have a press release, and I have a link to get you started. The media is the one place where I feel a publicist can be helpful, because they have the names, they have the contacts. And I really struggled. I did get a review of my book in my local newspaper, which I felt good about, but I haven't gone beyond that. So, but it is something that can get you on the radar of people. So a launch team is a team of people who promote your book with direction from you. I have some ideas about who you can invite. For my launch team, I had 70 people on my launch team from 20 U.S. states and 4 countries. And that may be way bigger than what you want to do. It worked for me. I thought about who would be likely to buy my book anyway, who's excited about my book being published. Remember, I talked about bringing people along for the journey, who's great at connecting with people, excuse me, and who can relate to my theme. I kept my ask of my launch team very simple: to pre-order my book after they've read the ARC that I gave them, to review it on Amazon, cut and paste it to Goodreads. My launch team, I wanted them to ask their library to order it. That is actually a thing that I did not know about, and to tell one person about it. And then once we got going, I had a lot of optional activities and contests and such. I made it kind of fun. So this workshop is a content magnet. I offered you information for free, and I got on your radar, so thank you for participating. If you are interested in my launch team emails, this is how I will sweeten the deal. I will send you, for the cost of ordering my book, which typically is $19.99 for the print edition on Amazon, but it's been on sale. I don't know where it was today, but it was on sale for $10, so that's quite a bargain. If you purchase my book and send me some proof of purchase, I will send you all my launch team emails. I had a 9-month campaign, so you won't have to reinvent the wheel. Everything will be there for you, and you can just use them as you like. So you'll have some order links to my book. And like I said, if you send me, here's my email here. If you send me proof of purchase, I'll send you all my, and remind me that you want them. I'll send you all my book launch emails. And but wait, there's more. I put together a basic book marketing package at a very reasonable price. And this is basically, for you, rather than reinventing the wheel of how to write a blurb request, how to write a press release, how to do this, how to do that. I just put everything I've done in a package, and I can give that to you, and it includes a 1-hour consultation. And if you're interested in that, just email me, and I'm happy to send you, I have a little page that explains everything that you get. So 2 quick takeaways. I know we're getting short on time. Manage your expectations and hold on to hope. So let's see. In November, I had a local book talk that nobody showed up for. And I think I could have promoted it better. I think the library could have promoted it better also. And but I'd heard about this happening. Stephen King and J.K. Rowling, admit to having no-show book talks early in their career. And so I was a little bit amused, and I had my husband take a picture of me in the empty room, and he was a little bit, concerned. He's like, "You're not going to post this anywhere, are you?" And I just said, "Oh yeah, we're all human. This happens." So I posted it on Twitter, TwitX. Every author has to have one, the no-show book talk. It's a bummer. If you look at the bottom right, it went viral, 1 million views. Henry Winkler, who of course was in the midst of his own memoir, series of book talks, also commented, been there, done that, best of luck to you, that type of thing. So I show this to remind you to be open to the possibility. In this photo, that the thing that people most commented on was my vulnerability, and that it inspired them, and it made them less afraid if this happens to them. And then the next thing that was kind of trending within this viral moment of mine was people saying, "I'm so impressed by what you shared. I'm going to buy your book." And then a couple days later, they posted pictures on Twitter of my book in their hands. So I know that it happened. So social media can sell books. Will 1 million views sell 1 million books? No. I think I sold 44. So I was very happy with those 44. But it didn't, I probably still haven't broken even on the money that I've spent on this journey. But be open to being vulnerable, and be open to sharing your story, and let people come along with you. And that is sometimes the best marketing that you can do for your book. And thank you. And I forgot to change my last slide, so you can ignore that. Hudson Valley Writers Guild. This is the Diamond Valley Writers Guild. And I think if we have time, Michelle, I can take a couple more questions.
We have time for a few questions. Yes, absolutely. Pat, did you want to make anybody on Zoom would like to have a question for Karen? Unmute and ask. Anybody in the room?
Yeah, my only question is, can we get a copy of the presentation? This has been great.
Yes, I'm so glad. Were you a plant, Tad? Because I looked at my notes to say I wanted to remind you. Yes, I think if you email the Diamond Valley Writers Guild and request a copy of the slides, they will send it to you. And that way you'll have all the links and all the information there.
Awesome.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give me a couple of days to get them out, though. But yes, email the guild, and I already have her PDF. She sent it to me, so I should be able to get it out to anyone who is interested. And I'll talk to you, Karen, about whether you want a link posted on the website, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So first off, questions? Anyone have any more questions for Karen in the room? She did such a good job. Up, Stacia, come on up. Stacia has a question.
Oh, what I'm doing. Hey, Karen. I have a question. I want to know a little bit more about the press, how you got hooked up to that press, and what services did they provide for you?
You mean the press that designed the T-shirt?
No, the press that designed the book. Publisher.
Yeah, good question. So Apprentice House Press is out of Loyola University, Maryland. So I decided I was going to query 100 literary agents before I moved to Plan B, which is small press. I got up to 85 agents, mostly ghosted. I had 2 requests for fulls, and then I got ghosted. And the time came, I just thought, well, why kill myself to get to 100? So, I just did some research into small presses. I was looking for presses that published memoir, which mine is. I tried to look at the kind of the quality of the books that were out, and if they were, like I said, my book was kind of mainstream. Some presses published much more edgy books, and I didn't feel that mine would fit with that. So I sent a query letter similar to a query letter that you do for an agent. That's another whole workshop that I won't try to address today. And and they wrote back and said, we want to give you a contract. And there's no advance with my press, and I was okay with that. So some presses do give, small presses sometimes give small advances. Many of them do not. But it's a good organization. I've been happy with the experience.
Any other questions for Karen? Okay, seeing no other questions, Karen, it's all yours for a wrap up on your presentation.
Okay, well, one thing I want to remind you, if you think of a question later, feel free to email me. You'll have my email in all the slides, and I'm sure on the website. I will mention, my publisher only does not provide sales reports except once a year in April for all of their authors. Because my book came out in May, it means I was going to have to wait almost a full year to get any sales information. That is one disadvantage. If you're looking into small presses, I would see how often you get a sales report or how you can track that. You can track some information on Amazon, but that really only reflects, my understanding is Amazon and maybe another source or two. So I tried to get one for this weekend, and there was a glitch, and I couldn't get one. So most new authors sell fewer than 100 or 500 books, depending on who you talk to. I will say that I'm on track to sell 500 books. I wish I would have known by this weekend, but I don't. But again, in terms of managing expectations, many authors don't sell a lot of books. So it's up to you to decide, how much you want to work. But I will tell you, I would have sold almost no books if I hadn't done the marketing. So, it's not going to happen unless you do something. And real quickly, just a little story. So, about 2 days ago, I got an email from a mother in Germany who found something, I think it was maybe an article I had written on a Romanian website. And this mother's child was diagnosed with the exact same brain tumor as my son. And she reached out to me as a beacon of hope. And I hope that I was able to give that to her. So that's just another story of how, putting yourself out there, especially for memoirists perhaps, but also for fiction writers, you put yourself out there and hope that you touch readers in some way. And, for me, that would not have happened if I hadn't put myself out there. So I guess I'll leave you with that, to take the risk and put yourself out there.
That's an amazing, amazing payoff on that, Karen.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for presenting for us today, everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
For those of you on Zoom, as we said, you can email the Guild and we'll get you the presentation so that you have all of the links and the information and the QR code. For those of you in the room, there are bookmarks with the QR code on it, and they're free. So they'll be at front when you're ready to leave. We have a couple more quick announcements, and then we'll adjourn. So hold on. Here's Sophia, one of our directors.
Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek for what next month's general meeting is going to be about. So at next month's general meeting, we will be hearing from Debbie Johnson on writing for a young audience. So all of you out there who are interested in children's literature, please join us next month because I feel like this will be right up your alley. Writing for children is a lot like writing for adults, with one exception. Kids won't let you get away with anything. Debbie will be navigating us through the ins and outs of various types of books for children. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please join us next month, which again will be here, same time, same place, and the third Saturday of the month. Thank you.
Couple of quick notes up front when you are leaving with the bookmarks. There's also submission guidelines written if you would like to pick them up for the anthology submissions. Again, you do need to be a paid member, but that's really easy to do. So Lynette, yeah, our treasurer is here, and she can take cash or checks, and then you can go to PayPal. Lynette, if you could put links and addresses into the chat, I'd appreciate it. One last thing. We have lots of free books. You have an advantage over everyone in New York and Canada, and I think, Marco, you're in Utah, right? Utah? Yeah. And we've got Montana. I mean, they're everywhere.
Damn Utah.
And where? What was that?
Yeah, I am from Utah currently.
Yeah, I thought you were, yes, because we've chatted before. Anyway, but we have lots of books. Help yourself. They are free. And after we adjourn, we do have a reservation at Emilio's restaurant. Everybody is welcome to attend. You guys can hop a quick plane. You can be out here in no time. And that's at noon. So our next meeting is February 17th, 9:30, right here in this room and Zoom. And that speaker is live. She will be at the podium in the room next month. Thank you all for coming. Gosh, it's so great to see so many new faces. Thank you. We're adjourned.